I would say a bit harder than the Yasuo, but Yasuo way stronger in the early game. You know, being able to use that wind wall on pretty much every single wave, deny the phosphorus bomb at an Emphis, so you're kind of forced to max that Gatling gun as the Corki now, because you know, if you go for that Q max, all of a sudden your entire kit or majority of damage in the early game is just denied by the wind wall, which can be spammed.
Yeah, that wind wall's going to be pretty annoying, right? Denying a lot of these crucial ultimates from the Direwall side as well for the engage, or even just for the execute too. So, utility throughout this game is certainly to be the case here. The Leona-Sejuani pairing together to lock down, and no doubt then empower the Yasuo to get this party started. But the real question has to be, finally, we're seeing more AP mages in this bot lane. You'd think, yeah, sure, like a Ziggs, a Syndra, maybe a cheeky Karthus. No, we're running it back with a Brand, and not in a jungle where everybody's expected to see it.
Yeah, Brand is actually an extremely underrated laner. He was nerfed on 14-13 because of how strong he is as a laner. His damage is really hard to dodge as a a person who's matching him up in lane, because what happens is he applies the W onto those minions, which extends how big the explosion is of his E. And if you go for that max on that E first, you're doing a lot of poke damage, which is hard to respond to.
Yeah, so much damage can then be funneled into a huge combust basically to trim down the entire wave and then tickle you in the process too. And I think we've seen this many years ago. I want to say from bare memory, it would have been like Order that had played Brand in the bot lane many years ago. I have to fact check that one when we get a chance. But either way, it's exciting. And a chance for them to see how they can play it. Double cleanse then in the bot lane to get this one under wraps as Shinky takes the first opportunity to try and bully Hexflash out of that brush. Not to be found though, and no Summoner's Burn.
I like the skin choice though, Skinny. I think Zombie Brand is like, you have to play this skin if you play this game.
Best.
It's so good, and it has the ability to spam the zombie cry. I remember like playing ARMs and stuff and just hearing that one being spam on repeat. You gotta mute him straight away because it gets a bit too much sometimes. But I'm curious that he did go for the Dark Harvest. I think that after the rune change, it's kind of a weak option unless you can get an insane amount of stacks on it. They changed it. It doesn't have a lot of base damage, but scales better now. Whereas, stuff like Comet paired up with the Scorch can do a lot of damage and is what we're used to seeing from these, junglers.
Well, it certainly is the case, right? A lot of poke, maybe a world in which you think you're super aggressive. You say, let me just go for the Electrocute and just one-shot you in a single Leona CC window. But nope, going to go for the Dark Harvest. And as you rightly say, it's not something that we see too often these days. Not even Karthus is interested in that rune much of the time either. So, any indication, 3 minutes into this one, and much like game one, it's very easy for Cole Lee just to stroll into your jungle and just take away your camp.
Yeah, another, playing for Invade on that level 3. Sejuani, a much stronger duelist than the Talia at this point in the game, will win that 1v1 even without the red buff at this point. Meifan needs set up from his team to be able to land that combo, and Styx landing the combo onto Shinky. He's lost majority of his health already.
Yeah, that Pillar of Flame, so annoying. So much damage that comes from it very early on. Still, the rest of Ion grouping up as a 4-man unit. Ooh. Completely figuring out bot lane even exists at this stage. Minions, who needs them? Because we can farm champions and we can force you to burn some flashes. Coley's stuck in a bit of a rock and a hard place. Forced to burn a flash of his own to disengage away. Damage being looked at onto Katsuri. Chuggy now getting an opportunity to rotate because he's playing the mid lane as this Ord. And then they pounce upon it and say, you know what, Jovi, too aggressive, too pushed up. It's time to take you down.
Will he be able to get out there, Steven? That's the question. Katsuri does have the flash, doesn't have mana though.
Yeah, he's going to flash forward and make sure that he gets everything. This is Katsuri's signature champion. It's usually banned away. He wants to make sure, if you don't ban it, you will simply lose. But there's the Brand, there's the Leona, and the lockdown answers.
That's the classic Brand combo. Something we're used to seeing is the the Q into the E, well, Q flash, follow that with the E. Really hard to react to. It doesn't have cleanse or flash. You can't outplay that one. Instant stun lands, pair that with the Pillar of Flame, and you've landed your combustion, Skinny.
What do we think about this mid matchup? Obviously, you've been familiar with metas like this, where you play bruisers and almost like top lane champions in the mid lane. Do you think this is a good rotation and a lane swap?
I think this is a good lane swap coming out of Direwall, which allows 80k versus 80 carry in the top lane, so they'll be able to scale evenly. And a lot of damage going on to Shinky in the bot lane, and might be a bit of an overextension from Hexflash as he does go down.
Ooh.
Shinky walks that one off, so back to the mid lane though. I think that Ornn is good into these, low-range champs. He has extremely high base damage. If you can land those brittle procs, he does have a lot of base damage to be able to take down these members, but going into the replay, this could have been an overextension from Hexflash. I think that they can't really follow up this damage onto Meifan because of the pebbles denying any dashes, which both Yasuo and Sejuani are prone to. And with the collapse from Chungi here, lands that knock up onto the wall, which isolates Zobi out of this fight, and they get that kill.
They certainly do. I think, yeah, the minefield really being the MVP there to make it very difficult for Ion to continue to push on forward. And just based on the amount of time it took to get that fight found, yeah, easy for the Direwolves to rotate and respond. And that's why 5 minutes in, they find themselves already with a 1k gold lead. Lane swaps working, kills to be found, all in the right places too, as Mayfan's going to be on the strong start now as that's Talia.
Yeah, and I'm curious about what the Zeri top build is actually, Simi. Is it going to be like that same Static Shiv into Hurricane? You know, is there a different like Bruiser-esque Zeri build where they go for like more in the shield bow, Bloodthirster as a second item, something they can be a bit more frontliney? Well, you know, you do sacrifice a bit of damage, but because you are so high level from being a solo laner, you do make that up in base damage from the levels, so not such a bad option if that is a build that comes forward.
Well, certainly a consideration. I am curious also if we're going to get like the water sprinkler, wave clear build that we've come to see time and time again, or if it is going to look to try and tech into what we've seen from Zeus, for instance, right? Still going for the static shiv, but then just going all in on the crit strike with your, you know, conventional, i.e. Bloodthirster, so on and so forth. So does he want to opt for the 1v1, or does he want to go for extra wave clear so they've got the tempo control? Because that was certainly a big hallmark of what made them so good in game one, right? Is the ability to play to all three lanes and always find success. Jovi here. Just going to be flirting with danger, dashing through all these minions, then pops the ultimate and says, I'm just going to take you down. Blocks the ultimate with the wind wall, says sayonara to you. It's not happening on my watch. There's a two-man knockup, but make it a glacial prison and make it a glacial tomb because you're locked in place and you might be falling on down to an early cast going against you as Direwolves find a kill.
Ooh, what a skirmish, Jimmy. A lot going on there. You know, Jovi was the main target there, but is able to skirt that one out. This is one of the strengths of Yasuo is you start dancing around these team fights. Doesn't have access to the Berserker Greaves yet, so it doesn't have the you know, the cooldown onto that Q maxed out. You know, you remember in times past about how this champ works, but let me hold my point as we're seeing action onto the sticks in the bot lane.
Yeah, no time to break these games down, given the fact that these players just want to go, go, go. Cleansing to be burnt by sticks under a lot of pressure from this route, and a dive looks to be inevitable as, yep, there is the flip back, and then, well, really for Hexflash, she says, I'm dead anyway, why not jump in and try and take you down with that ignite?
Fortunately doesn't find the kill there, but that's a very easy gank for Mayfan. This is what's really nice about teams who, you know, a lot of the time when your jungler is hovering towards you, you know, you don't want to wait for them to come for that gank. You want to set up the trade initially. You can take an aggressive trade where even if it isn't favorable for you, you know you have your jungler in your back pocket, so if anything happens, they can come clean up. They can even play for the dive that is favorable, and that is what happens right there.
Let's run it back and see what happened in the top lane as well. This is the other lane swap to keep your eye on, and you say this one may be a little bit better for the Zeri if the spacing works well. And it simply works that way, doesn't it? You'd imagine that the Corki would be a little bit too free to find the kill, but Doraemon showcasing that it's not all about the bruises. He can play the AD carries too. Does
have the combat summoner himself in the barrier versus the teleport of Empress, so he feels very confident dashing forward into the Corki, even though they are quite similar in strength. Does a really good job to you know, dodge a lot of those rockets and the damage coming out of him. So, you know, just a nice one-for-one by Doraemon there.
Maybe. It's just that blood in his veins. He's, you know, watched Violet, played with Violet so many times before. Says, you know what, I can play the AD carries too, but I just found a little bit more love in that top lane. Certainly not a bad partner to teach you the ropes and get you familiar on those champs. We'll see him though still be under a lot of threat as Shinky is going to go for what you'd imagine to be a cheeky little lane flip around to keep him intact. But yeah, I suppose the question does become, how successful has it been overall? Because still, Jovi is so far ahead.
Yeah, but he is ahead in the CS department, but you look at their inventory, Simi, and they're quite similar in terms of items, and this is the main thing about tanks. You know, you don't really need to be that 10 CS per minute player. You know, you can be a 7 to 8 CS per minute because you are a lot of the times in these bad matchups, and, you know, you still have the same output in these teamfights. But I think something that is extremely underrated as tanks is people like, oh, I'm a tank, I don't need to get farm, I can group. You know, if you're a farm tank, Simi, all of a sudden you're unkillable, and you know, when you are unkillable, your carries can do more damage because you create more space in team fights. Your base damage is really high when you have experience as well. Especially really important on Ornn because you want to get to those, you know, ornaments as soon as possible.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not a case of being self-sacrificed to make the team do more work. You need to empower your team as well, and Styx running the gauntlet of running away from a double-pronged attack there. Very difficult to try and outmaneuver that of a flip, shove, and a knock-up from the Ram as well. But he's burnt a flash. No summoners now. A very squishy, susceptible brand.
Yeah, you're going to have to see as the game goes on what happens. Because, you know, we talk about Jovi being so strong, but he doesn't have any setup this game. You know, when you see the Yasuo's, you used to see like the Zac, the Diana, the Gragas, this big knock-up to be able to allow him to get in there with that last press, but there isn't that, you know, set up this game. A lot of this is going to come off his own tornado or the headbutt coming out of Cole. He's just a very quick spell that he needs to make sure that is communicated so he can react to that and get onto these carries in these team fights.
But that's exactly right. I mean, it's not your ease of execution with like a Gragas or anything in the top lane to rely upon. They have gone fully all in on the idea that I can win without any assistance. And I don't need your protection to make me look that much better. First dragon then, going to be looked at 10.5 minutes. All the grubs go the way. Don't die whilst these teams take down the dragon. They've just hit you in the process as well. Clad Drake taken off the board whilst you recover. 3 grubs then go the way of Ion. It just seems to be a case that Divals are never interested in that one crucial objective.
Yeah, I did the classic, went for a sip of tea and it went down the wrong hole, so died a bit there. But, you know, they do pick themselves up the dragon, so even though they are losing this early game right now, they haven't allowed themselves some time to be able to scale as this, you know, game goes on, because you look at their members, Zeri, they have a hyper carry on the top side, they have this Yasuo crit scaling mid laner, which is really important about if they do find access onto the double carries in Corki and Aphelios and be able to lock them down with all that damage they have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's going to hit a point, right, where Jovi can play cleanup crew, just working his magic around this brand that can pad them all down low. I mean, we've already seen it take place, right, when Grand Zero played. It was the combination of Schönfire and Lemus together, 2v4ing, 2v5ing. It was just so much damage if you clump up and try and go for the win. 3 becomes 6. As we just mentioned, Divals are simply not interested in this top lane objective. And it just makes it so easy when teams are so aggressive and so proactive to say, well, if you don't respond, if you don't match us with all these crazy lane flips, your towers, your map, it's no longer there.
Yeah, and I think this goes to show, you know, a bit of macro prowess. Shinky was mentioning he feels more comfortable in the macro department. Have to see if they do get the pick on the sticks here. Does not have flash.
They've tried multiple times, and this time they will finally find it. Everything really thrown towards that sticks there, and rightfully so. He had no summoners. Now has no opportunity to farm up a Storm, and once again a case of make sure that Katsuri gets ahead, because he does have the most farm. When you compare them, will be probably the biggest difference between.
No Arcane Shift this game to save him, Skimmy, so he's going to get picked off, but he does not have that Flash Summoner. Nice to see that they are punishing these cooldown timers, but you know, as I was mentioning, Shinky felt much more confident in the macro department with his team, felt like they just worked better when it came to a core, but we're seeing Ion just doing really good, moving on the map, picking up the objectives in double grubs, picking up that first dragon, even though they are down almost 3,500 gold. Hold my point as another engage comes forward.
It's a bait for the walls. Who goes for the clearing? Both supports saying, I want this, I need this, and I'll fight literally tooth and nail for it. Out goes the flip, but flashed upon as you're looking for Coley to hit the stun, pop the passive, and lock down these crucial members. But Jovi, no, in close range, up against the Aphelios. That is the focus, that is the kill, but the tornado misses. There is no knock-up, used the Gromp as a bit of a taxi to get on top of Aphelios, and Katsuri does fall on down. That's a bit of a tragedy there for him, given that he was the lifeline for them. But the saving grace will be that Mayfan is just huge in back-to-back games.
Yeah, Mayfan really fed this game, picked himself up a lot of gold from, you know, winning all these skirmishes. He's picking up pretty much all the kills, getting these kills onto these members out of position like sticks. So just a lot of gold going to his pocket, and it's so nice as that sole AP member. And there's so much setup for him this game. That's the difference from last game. Didn't really have that. And he was not playing that, you know, major AP threat. But this time is engaged on. Does a really good job to disengage that thanks to Shinky with the Magnet Storm. Jovi does come down to chase him out. Flash is in, and there's just not enough time to be able to land that tornado onto Mayfan before he gets to his tower, gets to safety. And I think that a lot of these tornadoes, you know, we see the first one miss onto Katsuri, so he does not get that ult off. See the second one miss again onto Katsuri. So Jovi just chasing down his members with his pure, you know, base Q and auto attacks, but does not get the ult off in time.
So margins, as it has been all season, multiple occasions going against the grain of play. Doraemon, though, up against it with a all-in ult thrown towards his head. He endures it and says, well, I've got a Sejuani, and she is ready to back me up. Shinky sees that low down Zeri and thinks that's my ticket to go on in, but he's left his team to the wolves, no pun intended there, as both Mayfan and Chungi are forced to flee back to the top side. And would you believe it, Ion say, well, we're strong, they're weak, they're empowered by really a bit of greed to stick around despite the low HP bar. So Stick just tries to get it all done. Oh, Mayfun is a good guy though, and splits apart from the team.
Almost finds himself the explosion damage, but the main winner here is not going to be Katsuri as he goes down on mid lane. It was Emphis by himself on the bot lane, picking up that solo tower for himself. Should have his rifles here on the base as he does pick that one up. But I like the Blade the Ring King purchase from Dorimon. You're being able to do that damage to these health stackers, especially the tank coming out of Chungi.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice cheap spike. You heard Sticks mention about the Ezreal. Just play a Blade of the Ring King if you need some early armor penetration. But Zeri's certainly a champion that does like investing all those items towards the crit chance. So either way, it's a nice little addition here. Joby is at the top of the charts. 7,000 gold to his name. As mentioned before, though, Mayfun's been doing a phenomenal job sitting at 4-0-4 and quietly achieving has been Emphis on this Corki.
Yeah, really nice to see Emphasis having a day and night performance compared to last game. He finally got himself onto a mobile champion that is going to be able to scale up in this game. Is on the clock when it comes to CS. Hitting that 10 CS per minute. Does have items and he can have an impact this game.
What a second objective being looked at, and yet again, Direwolves just not in a position to contest it. They just clearly value experience that much more. Chungi going to find yet another turret, making it even Steven at 2 for 2 now. A clear indication that we just want to get to level 13, we want to get to level 14, 2 items. Look at Katsuri once again, we're waiting for that Phantom Dancer, and then perhaps we feel inspired and strong enough to fight fire with fire, given that they're already heading gold tally, but they're risk adverse.
Yeah, and that is one of the nice things. You can, I think when you are in the lead, you can be a bit greedy, but all right, we can give this objective, we don't really care. We want to hit our major power spikes as soon as possible, which is going to be 2 items on both 80 carries. I think that Mayfun has spiked, but they just scale throughout the game regardless of what state it is in. As long as they are strong, they will do damage. And then looking at their counterparts, they are, going to be quite far ahead just because their items are a bit cheaper, and if they extend like this, I don't think Zerby can outplay this 1v4.
But let's see what he can do. So far, he's really ignored every bit of CC thanks to the wing wall and to some fancy hands. Maybe he can, or maybe you just hit the caster go. Spoke too soon. In the end, you're thinking maybe the cavalry has arrived just in the nick of time there for Ion. But Shink with the flash forward, the 2-man Magnet Storm, and the waiting of a Moonlight Vigil, which only tickles 2, but does allow Emphis to find that first one and to put Brand in the grave for 20 whole seconds. Hex Flash, next one on the chopping block, and the gold lead now is truly demonstrated.
3 members down in advantage for Direwolves, but the whole time Dorimon in that bot lane picks himself up in inner tower. All these waves are pushed out for Ion, so they aren't losing out on a huge amount that you would expect. But Jody took a long time to go down the skirmish, and I almost thought he was going to outplay this one. We see Emphis throwing out a lot of respect with the initial, flash onto the second tornado that he does throw out here. But nice job by Direwolves to lock him down to make sure that he is going to fall down, and then Ion. Maybe a bit disrespectful, Skimmy, to take this fight after, their main carry is dead because, Sticks just isn't strong. He can't really 1v9 yet.
No, they're certainly strong, but not strong enough to entertain any crazy ideas like that. And those are the opportunities that Direwolves need to come back into this one. And yes, it might not change anything in the standings, but it, like we discussed before during the pre-show, right, it is that mental edge to know that, yeah, we demonstrated something different and we won, or in this case, maybe you did lose with it, and Direwolves get to laugh it straight to the bank. Dorimon, though, going to do some ice skating. He just jumps across the wall. Chungi thinks he's found an escape. Path and Coley and Sticks say, no, 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 not today.
Rift Herald summoned in the mid lane there. The Ion members are going to have to rotate back to the mid side. They still don't have the cooldown of the Glacial Prison on the Sejuani to be able to engage onto these members if they do ever extend, but this Rift Herald will not get the charge of Skimmy, and that is a nice, denial by the Ion side, picking Chungi off on the side lane, who thought he felt a bit safer than he was.
Oh, look at that. It's just not fair for Katsuri. He's the only one they wanted and the only one that was in a position to allow the Solar Flare to land on his head and take him down in a heartbeat. The Verdant Barrier on Mayfun was a nice pickup, and yes, it's denied a lot of burst, but he's unable to protect any of his teammates.
Had the flash, Skimmy decides not to throw that one out to dodge the Solar Flare. Just falls down instantly, and more dives coming through anyway.
Yeah, as soon as those cooldowns come back up, Hex Flash and Coley instantly chuck everything towards that mid lane. Double kill Fanfight and Dorimon. And they'll chuck out the call of the Forge Gold because Chungi's on a flank with a deep ward in the mid lane to TP into success. He'll take down Sticks, but in between the passive of a Sejuani, the knock-up from a Yasuo, it's just another kill. And this Zeri is 5-1, and I'm a very happy man.
I really like this buy that Jovi has picked up, Skimmy. This is a very underrated Yasuo build item. Getting the Vori on the Champ means you just spam these win walls in these team fights. And it is so annoying, as like a Talia, your rocks are blocked, 80 carries, you can't auto-attack all of a sudden because this win wall that absorbs all your damage, but Really nice dive coming out of the Ion side. They're punishing the fact there is, they have numbers advantage. They are punishing what I would say is Summer's advantage, but they did have access to these flashes. Both members who fell down in Katsuri and Mayfan had flash in these fights, but they're just not using them defensively.
It brings into the question, what are we waiting for at this point of the game? Is that not a turning point? Are we all just aligned on the idea that this game is close, do a quick score check of where we're at on items and think, okay, it's all in on this Baron. That was what the dance was in game one, and we feel like it's going to devolve into that kind of madness again.
Wall coming out, Skimmy. Styx is caught, does have the flash though.
This entire series, he has been pushed up hard, hasn't he? They've got a big bounty in his head saying that you will not be able to play this game and have any fun whatsoever. But let's see the utility found in this wind wall and just how quickly Jovi gets to reset it. It's going to be the one-man tornado, the passive from the Sejuani, the Magnet Storm that does absolutely nothing, and the Brand in the backline that zones the entirety of the Direwolves backline straight back home. He'll find a double kill, a little bit of reprieve for him, and a Solitaire that nearly ended Memphis in the process too, and it's just so commanding and so controlled here from Ion.
And there it goes, wide Skimmy, but we thought that was Styx getting caught out, by all those members that were diving onto him, but, as soon as they turn their back to him, he pops the combustion, he throws out the Pyroblast, Fire Blast, throws all over the team, does so much damage when they cannot respond to him in tandem, and sets up his team to do so much damage there.
It's brutal. It really is at this stage, because this was a gold lead that was going in Direwolves' favour for such a long time. Few back-to-back fights now have really gone against them, and that 4K lead they had has completely fizzled out and nearly gone against them in the opposite direction. Now we'll run it back again, because this is a nice ward on the mid lane, a nice initial pick to say you have to run this one direction, but as soon as that seismic shove misses, the play's over.
Yeah, nice discipline to hold your flash on that shove there to make sure he isn't, forced out of the fight completely. Still has flash, so you can play a bit aggressive here, but just look at the Brand ult bouncing in the back line, doing so much damage to these members and just creating so much space for his Doraemon on this area to do damage here. But straight away, Baron is pulled red-white on Katsuri. The members from Ion are collapsing, so I'm not sure they feel too confident to stay on this one, Skimmy.
Yeah, this does feel a little bit of a dicey situation. Hexflash says it's my time to shine, jumps in, lets the Baron not reset, and they instantly take out Mayfan. There is no jungler, there is no smite, and now you have no Ornn to really start these fights as well. They look at everybody else and say, we could just pick you apart, it's too easy. Look how much mobility we have. We've got a Yasuo, we have a Zeri, and if that wasn't enough, we've got two bruisers that don't really care and will chuck their life on the line to find that success. There is the ace. And should he even go for the Baron, or did this end it through mid?
I think they're going to go for the Baron. It's gonna be, the longer I look at this draft, I think it makes a lot of sense. If this was not a Sejuani and then was like something like a Zac, I think they have cooked an extremely good draft. It looks like Doraemon looks so comfortable on this Zeri. He's doing so good in these team fights, creating so much space. And Brain is a very, very underrated champ. I think he can be moved around into other positions besides jungle. But, going to the replay, Hex Splash on the blast plant, finds Mayfan, the crucial member, on Direwolves, locks him down, and we see Doraemon just coming from the side, tether up with Styx, using the Brand ult onto the backline members. They are all, being slowed constantly by the bouncers, and it's an easy cleanup.
It's just awkward, really, isn't it? This is a situation where you'd love to be the lethality Varus to sit back and not have to entertain this Brand damage, because that seems to be what makes it easy for them to create the space, for them to then pick apart these members and give the uptime for a Yasuo and Zeri just to recklessly jump at you and say, what are you going to do in response? You have nothing left to do, and yeah, it's confusing now as to how Direwolves get back into this one. This game was looking like a potential draw for the first 15 minutes, but now clearly very one-sided.
Yeah, absolutely very one-sided, and this is going to get harder as the game goes on. Katsuri really needs to be on that green gun as much as possible, because he just gets... Yeah, it's so hard for him to do damage when he's on these short-range gun cycles because of the Brand, because of the wind wall. He needs to make sure that he is able to do any damage, but the levels are coming through, and Direwolves are still looking aggressively.
Well, here we go. One more time. There is that Call of the Forge God. Lock in place with the Weaver's Wall and say, Styx, bye-bye. One more time. He just picked up the Medjais and they say 0 stacks on that bad boy today. Doraemon says, I'm sick of team fighting. I just want to wrap this up. I've got things to do and places to be. And on his own, takes that bot lane inhibitor. Empowered by the Baron buff. Those minions are certainly empowered. And why not? They're just going to play all 3 lanes here.
This is the wave clear Zeri build. You have the Hurricane and the Hydra, but they are going in again. Might be the end. Gimme.
Seismic Shove not going to find it, but the one-man ultimate Fate Seal getting it done there from Jovi to lock down one more kill. It's going to be Doraemon that opens it up with a double kill. As they say, triple inhibitor, it's overrated. We don't need to do it. Back-to-back 25-minute victories. An incredibly quick series for them to wrap up the 2-0, to claim the 4th spot, and to go into playoffs with so much confidence, beaming with pride and prosperity. They get it done, and they put Direwolves in the dump.
Yeah, this is a really, really nice showing from ION, even though this game was quite close. I'll give him his time to shine, so you hold on.
He says, imagine I'm Yone. Okay.
Okay.
Look, you've tried to cook. Maybe not your best one there. Maybe not your best one.
Go back to the drawing board.
What is the quote? It was like 1-4. You got to remember what's the Yone blade.
One to seal.
That's the one, bro. That's the one. What a game, though. What a game. And I think really for me, it's a case of ION showcase that we are still the dark horse. We are still the team that on paper loses to the teams above us, beats the teams below us, and